Once again, it was that dreaded time of year when we have to make our schedule for the next semester. It was the fall semester of my last year, and I had the opportunity to take an elective. I was so happy because I was finally able to take a class that I was able to pick out, not one already destined for me. I was choosing between taking a photography class or a ceramics class. I was hoping for the photography class because I had already had a strong interest in photography and loved collecting old cameras. I was so nervous for when it was finally my time to enroll. I was hoping I would get the classes I needed at the times I picked so I could take one of these electives. But the blue box was already there and the photography class was closed. I was so sad, but I quickly checked and the ceramics class was blessedly still open. I quickly enrolled and was for once content with my schedule, minus my 8 a.m. class. On the first day of class, we went over the syllabus, and we were told all the materials we needed to get. Just about the only thing I knew on the list was clay. We also went over the requirements for the first assignment. We had to make one piece that was 15 inches tall and 12 inches wide. We all came back the next class with our materials and drawings of our ideas. The professor went around to each student, helping them develop their ideas so they can bring them to life. With the professor's help, I decided I was going to make some coral riding on a turtle's back. The next class period, I was so nervous. I never had experience with clay or even have taken an art class before this, and it seemed that almost half of my table already had or they were art majors. I was starting to ask myself if I could do this. After watching the professor's demonstrations on how to manipulate the clay, I was feeling only slightly more confident. By the time we were able to get started, all I was able to do was make some slabs of clay to start the coral base. The first few weeks, I was still so nervous and I was having trouble attaching the branch-like tubing. I didn't have any time to make a turtle, but I was able to make a starfish. It was not what I envisioned, but I was really happy with what I made for my first piece. During the middle of the semester, I walked by and noticed that it was in the case in front of the class. I was so excited. Then we had to create a second piece, and the requirements were that it had to be 15 inches tall and have hard and soft elements. This class was starting to stress me out because I felt I was not creative and I didn't have any idea what to make. Then I saw these hexagonal shapes and decided I would make a honeycomb coming out of a rectangle and have honey dripping down. Easy enough, or so I thought. It was not easy. It took me so long just to make the box and making the shapes that I felt everyone was already finished when I still had a long way to go. I kept comparing my progress with others and was bringing my confidence in ceramics down. I still wasn't even sure what I was doing, but I kept asking questions and took my time trying to get it right. I had an empty day, so I decided to catch up and work on my project. It took forever applying the pieces because they kept breaking, but it was good to see that I was still progressing. I then added the honey drips, which I thought was going to be so hard, but it ended up being the easiest part. My next class period, I was so happy with all that I did, and I got a lot of compliments on my piece, and that brought my confidence back up. My professor could see that I worked so hard on it. She said that she could tell I was a perfectionist, and it showed in my work. I was really happy about that. By the third piece, I was feeling pretty confident. We had to make a real-life object. After talking to the professor, I decided that I would make one of my cameras. I was really excited. By this point in the semester, I knew that I took longer to finish my projects than the other people at my table, and I was getting better at not comparing our work. Even though carving out all of the markings was time-consuming, making the camera was the easiest piece so far. I really loved it, and it felt like a real camera. It wasn't all black like my camera because I wanted people to be able to see the details in the carvings. And because of the process of glazing, I wasn't able to get it in the kiln a second time, so it doesn't have a shiny finish. It is still one of my favorite pieces. For my last piece, we had to make something that reflected us. I had absolutely no clue what to do. When I asked my other group members what they were doing, 2 of them said they were going to do birds. So then I sarcastically said I was going to do it too, and I drew a hummingbird as one of my ideas. My professor loved the idea, so I was going to make 11 hummingbirds in one giant nest to represent all of my siblings. I made the nest big enough to fit them all on, in, and around it. Their nests are actually so small, they are slightly bigger than a quarter. The nest was the easiest thing to make. I had absolutely no idea on how to make the birds though. They have to be hollow and not just a chunk of clay. I asked so many questions on how to shape it. The birds were time consuming, so I took them home and finished them over Thanksgiving break. When I brought them back to school, about half of the birds broke because they are so fragile. I had to spend the rest of the classroom making them. Then after their first firing, I had to glaze them. I tried to make them all unique to represent how unique all of my siblings are. This ended up being the most stressful project, but I was so happy once it was finished. The last day, we had all of our work lined up for group critique. So many people said they liked my work. I was so happy. My professor said she enjoyed seeing how I progressed throughout the semester, and she really liked my work ethic. Hearing all of this, I felt so confident. Going into this, I was really scared because I've never considered myself artistic. I had no clue about using clay as a medium, but after taking this class, I had a better appreciation for a visual artist. I also have confidence in myself as an artist, and now I know I can do it.